Hello, and welcome everyone to Tales from the Dewdrop, a Wanderhome story. I am your guide and player, Natalie Putum from Charm Person Games, and we have a really excellent show for you. Before we get started, I want to go around and introduce you all to the cast. So let's start with Tiff. Tiff, tell us a little bit about who you are.
Hi, my name is Tiff. I am a casual TTRPG player and an aspiring writer. You can find me on Twitter at Ruby Quill. And I'm really, really happy and excited to be jumping into this game with you all today.
Great. Victor, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are?
Hello, guys. My name is Victor. I am a trans man who is really excited to get deeper into TTRPG. I am trying desperately to make actual play actor a thing. So, as well as writing for writing about intimacy and queerness in TTRPGs and trying to get my name out that way too. I use he and they pronouns, and I'm really excited to be here.
Angela, why don't you tell us about yourself?
Hello there, lovelies. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here joining us for what is hopefully going to be a sweet, cozy, and delightful time. I am Angela. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a game designer, writer/poet, and also just involved in a lot of different TTRPG actual play performances. So you can find me usually in spots like Girls Run These Worlds, occasionally on one-shots and other things going on over at Utopia, and whenever our seasons get back up and running over at All Nerds here. I'm basically the gal who's just big feels, big emotions, big characters, and constant sweetness. So that's me.
Great. And last but definitely not least, VJ, who are you?
Hi, I'm VJ Stonecraft. I'm the director of Loved Ones Craft, which is a queer-led Call of Cthulhu podcast. You can also find me on Carrie Smith 2012's channel in the Glass Chronicles as Arabella Earhart, Lady Adventure and Aviatrix. So if you want to see more of the stuff that I do, come join us at Loved Ones Craft. We'd love to have you. Join us in the dark.
Fantastic. So before we get started, I'd love to go around and meet some of our lovely characters that are going to be here. So we're going to go in reverse order and keep you talking, BJ. BJ, why don't you tell us about Professor Josephine Juniper?
Absolutely. So Professor Josephine Juniper is kind and she's warm. She's very creative and spry. She got her start many years as an academic teacher. So this kind of ivory tower sort of academic professor. But there's kind of something there because she's on the road now and she's on sabbatical, but she doesn't really talk about it very much. But you know that she can't really be famous anymore for the work that she does for academics. She can't be renowned, and she's not particularly conventional in the way that she teaches. But she needs to learn how to open up about why she's on sabbatical just a little bit. So she's that former teacher, she's a mink, and she carries all of her lesson plans and her students' former artwork in this big satchel that she carries over her shoulder everywhere. So that's Professor Josephine Juniper, but you can call her Josie.
All right. And Angela, why don't you tell us about Amelia?
I will be very happy to do so. Amelia Ashhart is a bit of a sweet, older kind of lady, a lady owl to be exact. She is very expressive, very gentle, but she's usually exhausted when anyone makes her try to have to be masculine or patient. She's a fine, upstanding lady who doesn't take any spunk from anyone, unless they're a rascal that she's adopted without letting them know. She is a caretaker, which means she takes care of people in general, but more specifically, she has friends in the form of tiny little forgotten gods that she carries around in a shrine on her back. That it's a bigger shrine that has, in the way I thought about it, lots of these little slots into it, the way that the mountains in the Altiplano sort of regions over in the Andes Mountains might be structured in terms of plateaus. So she has just a bunch of these little plateau slots that have all the little shrines of the forgotten gods there. She's has these huge, big old glasses, circular, that emphasize her very, very big eyes. Faded shawl, some robes, and she kind of constantly has this little rhythmic tapping. It's kind of a stim that she has going all the time. But I think that covers most of who Amelia Ashhart is. Just a fussy old lady sometimes, but a sweetheart and a gentle one at that.
All right. Victor, why don't you tell us about Geronimo?
Hi guys, Geronimo is a Mukuchi, which is a Venezuelan sheepdog. He is a big old ball of fluff. He is, you get the sense that he's brave, and he has this far off look a lot. So, he comes off as very deep, but he's really, really anxious. And so, for all this big and like large man, he's very worried that he's not really lovable or useful. So he's constantly trying to sort of like get that validation. And because the place where he grew up was sort of like the ruin of a castle, like that was constantly buffeted by storms. And he doesn't really remember a lot. That it was like chaotic. But a lot of people think that Geronimo has like this heroic destiny. It's like mysterious and strange, but like he doesn't really see that for himself. He thinks people just sort of have misheard his name. um, he spends a lot of time playing with like a little puzzle box that someone mysterious gave to him when he like finally managed to leave home. And he hasn't been able to open it for the longest, but he's always sort of playing with it. And other people will notice that sometimes he has like a small little thing that keeps appearing over his shoulder, looking in, or sort of floating in the background. And he's sure that it's this god that he carries along with him, but he can never really find it when he's looking for it. So he's just this anxious, like very thoughtful little mess, big mess. And so now he's working alongside some of the other characters here to try and find his usefulness and find his place in the world.
Great. Tiff, why don't you tell us about Miss Esther?
Certainly. Miss Esther Duwada is a brown hyena and the owner, operator, and CEO of the Dewdrop, which is her traveling food and mystery cart. She sells food, she sells drinks, she sells smokes that she hand makes. She also will occasionally sell a little bit of magic or two, which is guaranteed to always work, but may or may not have the occasional side effect, but you get what you pay for. Aside from that, she is very calm and watchful, a little bit on the suspicious side, but underneath all of that, there is a deep well of kindness. She feels that she has to purport herself in a certain way or interact with people in a certain way to make sure that she is respected. But one of the things that she's trying to figure out is exactly what she wants her future to be. So as for now, she travels around on the cart pulled by her stag beetle Breezy. And they go from town to town, place to place, all the way up until the snows come and she takes a break and then she starts it all over again. There's a little bit of mystery in her past where she may have been involved in some rebellious activities, but it's not something she particularly discusses.
And I will be playing Scout. Scout is a very young gecko. She is friendly and smart, and she's very brave. And she carries around her poking stick and has on a giant cloak that doesn't fit her and big old stomping boots. And she wants to be a hero someday, just like Geronimo. She wants to go and save the whole world. And on her shoulder is Knack. Knack is a very, very, very sacred god that she found lost in the forest when she was lost in the forest. And she swore that she would bring it home. So she has been traveling and found this group and is like, yes, I can travel with this group. And has been traveling with them since to try and get Knack home. And speaking of traveling, our group is currently floating down the river, the Milky Way River. It is the month of Devil Days. It is hot and sweltering. The sun is beating. The grass is dry. There's no breeze. It's very still and hot. As we've kept floating, there's been lazy teens fishing in the river, old people lazily walking along, cooling their face with their paper fans. And it's just generally been like a very hot, still, lazy day. And before we start a game of Wanderhome, there's always some questions we have to ask. So first, what sort of place did we just travel from?
Maybe someplace. Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
Oh, I was thinking maybe someplace like completely different. Like if this place is flat,
Yeah.
fields, gardens, maybe we came from like mountains.
Yeah, maybe I was thinking it was like a big, exciting like town. Like there was like a big town there. And Miss Esther made a bunch of sales and Scout had like a bunch of adventures. And now Scout is just bored out of her mind. How do we feel about that?
No, that's great. I think Miss Esther would have, if it's a big, exciting city with a port, maybe she rented the raft that she drove the cart onto, and that's what's helping make its way down the river.
Yep.
And she can just drop it off at a port at a smaller town farther down.
Okay.
Useful.
And
I love the idea of coming from a big city.
Yeah. And you definitely had to pull Josie away. Like every day that we were in that town, she was in the town square. She was doing like lessons with like all the little urchin children in the town. And you basically had to just drag her away to put her on that raft to get her out of there. And she's still dreaming about it. She's still thinking about going back to the kids in that town.
I kind of wanted to add one other little detail. So we haven't named what the folk of said place were.
Yeah.
My suggestion, it was predominantly giant tortoise.
Okay.
So because I like the idea that they're proportionally to us much bigger than we were, but because I've always liked the idea of how giants, when a lot of folks depict them in fantasy, it's always that like big, slow, massive steps. But the reason that they're slow is just because they're tortoise and they're just walking very calmly and slowly everywhere.
Sure.
And they're just very, very big.
Geronimo was so relieved to like be this like a short for once. Like, oh man, this is great.
Yeah. Do we feel like our journey has been long?
I think with this heat, it definitely feels long.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like Geronimo is like laying on the side of the raft, tongue lolling out, just like, this is the worst.
Yeah, I feel like we're stuck in, I know it's a river and not the ocean, but like we're in the doldrums, or it feels like we're in the doldrums. Like it's just been, it probably hasn't even been that long. It just feels like we've been stuck
like
in
we
this.
left like yesterday and Scout's already doing that. Are we there yet?
That means everyone's definitely getting a mug of honeysuckle iced tea, because no one should have to suffer through this without something cool to drink. It's prepared.
Scout like downs hers and then it's like doesn't have anything else to drink.
Josie will like on the sly let you have a little bit of hers.
Okay,
Like,
great.
Here you go, sweetheart.
I think Amelia's been trying to entertain Scout because she walks with a cane, this really beautiful kind of like walking stick that's got feathers and runes all around it. and they have they're like various like owl feathers, so it's obvious it's like this is probably something passed down from her family. She's just sticking her walking stick occasionally like in the river, and then just like very just slyly lashing Scout some of the water just to keep her entertained and also to cool her down, because she's like she's not gonna make Scout tell her to like help her like be entertained. She's just like, someone should be entertaining me.
Yeah. Okay. Is there somewhere we hope to go?
Somewhere cold. Nowhere in specific, but Hieronymo was like, for the underground, a cave, anywhere cold.
I've heard Nak's temple is on top of a mountain. That'll be cold, right? Mountains are cold. Mountains are cold.
Generally, but is chasing the cold something we actually want to do?
Is that something we want to do permanently, or is that something we just want to do now because it's so hot on this raft?
Oh, I mean, it's good to visit the cold. I don't know.
I've never seen snow before, so.
Ooh.
Well, that would be a lesson in nature and the earth. We could make a very good lesson out of that, Scout.
Yeah, I'll learn lots, I'm sure, making snowballs and snowmen and snow angels and snow.
Different snow shapes.
Yes.
Geometry.
Yeah. And finally, but silently in our heads, where is home?
I'm not going to cry in the first 5 minutes of Wanderhome.
Oh.
So,
Coward.
as we're floating down the river, Scout is her boots are kind of sitting off next to her, and her like stick is stuck in their boots, and her feet are kind of dangling in the water, and she's kind of entertaining herself that way, like splashing her feet in the river. And I think she kind of yips like really loudly as I think a fish bit my toe. A fish bit my toe.
I think Hieronymo is like nearby, just again, like sort of laying with his head like on the side of the raft, just and then sort of picks his head up. And then let me see.
Is it dangerous? Is it gonna kill me?
I don't think so.
Am I gonna get like cool stitches?
Does Scout have any breakage of the skin?
No.
Oh yeah. No, Hieronymus looks like, oh, we're gonna have to amputate your foot, dear.
Oh, no. Will I get a cool peg leg?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll make sure that that Amelia makes it for you.
Okay. Can I walk with a cane like Amelia?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Amelia's just slowly pulling her walking stick just a little bit away from Scout before she starts getting ideas.
Well, Scout, there's really only one way to test if there's anything dangerous in this water. But let's turn it into a lesson. So when Amelia was splashing you, that was quite a small splash, but she was just using her hands. If you want to make a big splash, you have to use everything you've got. And Josephine will run off of the raft and shout, "Cannonball!" and cannonball into the water.
In like her full like garb, like
Yes.
Is she changed at all?
No.
Okay. Scout's gonna like run to the edge and be like, "Is she okay?"
I swim to the surface and I kind of peek my snout out. I say, "Yeah, it's great. Water feels great. I feel fine. It's just treading water, Scout. That's all that it takes, sweetheart."
Could I add a little bit to this scene? Because you have an enormous hat.
I do
You
have an
said that you
enormous
didn't-
hat.
That you, when you dove down, the hat might have been like lying down, and then you scared Scout because you're somewhere else.
Absolutely,
Be like that,
absolutely.
yeah.
I will surface
Yeah.
a few feet off to the
Yeah.
side, lazily like kicking my feet in the water and waving to everyone on the raft and saying, "You could join me if you like. It's very nice in here."
Hieronymo looks at Scout and was like, if a fish bites your hand, you could get a cool hook too.
Yeah, that's definitely. Yep, that's a thing I could do. And I think you can tell that Scout looks a little bit nervous, and you're not used to seeing Scout nervous.
Miss Esther will actually walk up behind Scout, tap her on the shoulder.
Ah,
Why don't you try this? And she hands you a little tiny vial of this teal and green swirly looking potiony thing. Drink that. Have fun.
does it taste good?
It depends on what you think tastes good.
I mean, candy tastes good, and your honeysuckle tea tastes good,
Mm.
and marshmallows over the fire taste good. And
So it's a little better than a bowl of cherries, a little less tasty than sugared apples.
that sounds delicious. Yes. I think Scout will just take it in one big sip.
Well, she just has a tiny little potion of water breathing,
Okay.
so she can breathe underwater for 15 minutes.
Uh-huh.
The unfortunate side effect is that it will give her little blue polka dots on her scales, only for a day. It'll fade.
What do you do to me?
Oh, nothing. This will let you jump into the water and you can swim around and you don't have to worry about drowning.
Okay. Well, I was worried about that, but it's a small complication,
What's wrong?
and I'm gonna gain a token by saying my true feelings on a subject. I never actually learned how to swim.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, that's no good. You're going to have to learn today. Josie,
Yes,
You-
I'm here.
are you up for a swimming lesson, dear?
Oh, I'm always up for a swimming lesson. Scout, darling, I won't let you sink. Come into the water and you'll be completely safe with me, sweetheart.
Okay.
Or you
Oh.
could sink to the bottom and walk along it.
That is
And I
true.
You could do that. You could do that and mess the Josephine.
I think Scout walks to the edge, and kind of you see her close her eyes, take a few deep breaths, and then she just takes a step off. And I think that's exactly what she does. She just plunges to the bottom. And it's like, wait, where's Scout?
Scout? Scout, where are you? Where did you go?
I think this is a good moment because Amelia has not been paying attention to a lot of this situation. She's just been kind of off the side. Like if you see her, it looks like she's been doing some weird variation of trying to fish, but she only is using her walking stick that's crooked on the end of it because it has a little like bird head on it. And you're like, what are you doing? Like if anyone came up to her, you'd be like, what are you doing, Amelia? And she's like, hold on. And you see she like has been slowly lifting up very gently these tiny little like they're kind of like lotus flower roots, but they're like more thin and reedy. And she to anyone who sees her, if anyone asked her what it was, she would just say they're called whistle weeds, where if you put them to your lips, they can actually you can blow on them and they make a nice little tune. And she gets them because she knows that the little god named Dulcet in one of the shelves on her shrine really likes new songs. So she is going to spend a little time leaving an offering of the little whistle weeds, but also in the midst of her trying to get the next batch, I think her walking stick collides on the end of it with Scout's head down in the water.
And I think Scout is gonna like grab on like to like you got a big one sort of feeling as
Yep.
you're digging for the reeds. Um,
I love the idea of like just Amelia lifting, and then there's like hello.
uh,
Scout, where are you?
and I
Sweetie?
think Amelia pulls Scout up, and Scout's like, "Am I swimming? Am I doing it?"
No,
Dear,
but you are giving me a heart attack.
dear, would you like me to be honest with you, or would you like something comforting to be said?
Um, Comforting.
You hear a very audible sigh that only comes up when she's asked to be patient with people.
Uh-huh.
And as she says, you are small and you are very scrappy, but you are trying very hard. And
I am trying really hard.
I can tell.
I think I've got it. And I think I let go of the thing. And it's just...
No!
I think that's when Geronimo lumbers over, and he takes off his the only piece of like upper clothing he's got is this like really tattered cloak that doesn't seem to like do anything. Like he's already really furred. He doesn't really need a coverage. But he takes it off, and then he like lumbers over, just jumps in. I think he's tall enough that like he can raise his snout up and still touch the bottom. He's just like sort of feeling around and like lifting Scout up.
Yeah.
That's okay.
A fish has got me. Hi, Geronimo.
Hi. I think Josie can teach you better than you sinking.
Okay.
And he just starts like wading towards
Walking her
Josie. This is like lumbering, like his face up like this, like okay.
Is Scout so little that I can just like take her from Geronimo? Like, Scout, are you pretty tiny?
Yeah, she's like 8. She's like, I think, pretty small. Yeah, she's not that
Okay.
big. Yeah.
Yeah, so Josie will take you from Geronimo and just like hold you up, and I give you this look that says volumes, like a bunch of expletives that I'm not going to use, but just like looking at you like, what are you doing? But I set you back down in the water and I say, okay, this is how you swim. You move your arms, you move your legs. It's called a doggy paddle. If we're gonna figure this out, can you show me this same motion that I'm doing now?
I am going to do one of my things I can always do and get really invested in a new interest. And I think you've never seen Scout like so focused on one of your lessons. Like normally when you're trying to teach her something, she is off in a totally different place. But she seems like totally focused. It's like, yeah, okay.
All right, and you've got to remember to take breaths, really, really deep breaths, and keep your head above the water. No more sinking. No more sinking. Repeat it after me, Scout. No more sinking.
No more sinking.
Okay, good. So what can we learn from this, Scout?
Miss Esther's potions taste good. And also no more sinking.
All right, then I don't take a token because you definitely did not reflect on what's going on.
Sorry.
Oh no, I think that's great. I love that so much. I definitely pick up Scout and just kind of like hold them for a second, put them back on the raft, and then I just like rest my arms on the edge of the raft, just breathing very, very heavily. And I turn to Miss Esther and I say, Miss Esther, do you have one of those clove cigarettes that you're famous for rolling? Because I could really use one.
Absolutely. I'll come back with 3 towels too. Miss Amelia, what can I do for you?
You see her pausing very thoughtfully. And she says, wait a minute. Can you hear that?
Mm. Mm. Do you mean the bird song, the cicadas, or that weird buzzy sound?
No, not those. Here, come closer to the water with me. Take a listen.
Miss Esther goes and rearranges the hem of her dress because she's not getting that dirty and sits down, leans toward the water.
For indulging me to lean close, you get a token for trying your best to hear what I do. But
Fantastic.
but I think I will also spend the token that I got earlier to take a moment to marvel at something no one has ever seen before. I think, and it also asks the table to describe it. I will give a blueprint of something that I start to see the outline of, and everyone else fill in.
Yeah.
I think at first glance, I look in the water where Hieronimo, Scout, and Professor Juniper were just a short while ago, and I see the outline of something that either looks like a big old catfish or like a little anglerfish. I can't tell what it is, but so what exactly am I seeing and marveling at during all of this, everyone?
Mm.
I think you're marveling at not a singular catfish, but a large school of them that is so in sync with one another that it almost seems like one very, very big fish. And they just move so perfectly together that they're easily mistakable for one animal.
Oh, well, that could definitely be useful. Right. Geronimo?
Geronimo is in the water like right like below his snout. He is floating like on his belly, so his like tail is like up and just wagging because he's just sort of like paddling around because it's so much nicer in the water. And he looks up and he's like, huh? And like all of his fluff, now that like he's out of the water, you see that it has like gone in very close to his body. Like if you ever see a Samoyed like soaking wet, where they just everything just sort of hangs down. Yeah, that's what I remember now. He's like, yes.
You remember last year when I made those catfish fritters that made you cry?
Yes.
Would you like to have them again?
Yes.
Good. Then we're going fishing. Right. I have a net somewhere here. Would anyone else like to give it a try?
We're fishing for that? And then he goes under it and it's like, that one?
Absolutely. You never pass up a golden opportunity for good trade. That is excellent trade. Right. And she gets up, dusts off her dress, goes to collect a fishing net and a somewhat poorly made but still usable fishing pole. There's only the one though. And she comes back out. 1, 2, 3. Miss Amelia, would you like a bit of fishing twine for your cane?
That's very sweet of you, Miss Esther. And normally I would be very interested in doing it, but the heat has, I think, tired me out just a little bit, so I'm going to just take a moment to try and cool myself down, if that's all right.
Absolutely. All right.
Angela,
Now.
can I interrupt very quickly
Mm.
for something that might be funny?
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
If it's okay.
Yeah.
So you know how if you ever had a dog, when they come in from the rain, or when they come in from getting wet, the way that they shake. Do you think it would be funny if Romeo got back up on the raft and then
Yes.
if Amelia talked about cooling down? I just really like the comedic timing of it.
I also think Scout follows Geronimo up and does the same thing, but she has no fur.
I think there's a moment where she wants to get upset, but then she sees how silly and how ridiculous, and also, frankly, how adorable this little moment of beauty between Geronimo and Scout, just mimicking each other and doing the big old like water shake, and she just there's like a big smile, and she doesn't say anything, but it's a face that says quite a lot. It's an expression that says quite a lot. Without ever having to convey it in words. It's deep approval with about 5% of mild irritation.
Like Hieronymus just a big thing of floof right now. He gets fur sticking out in all directions after he shakes. And he's like, all right, I can hold the net.
I'll grab the other end, and Miss Esther deliberately gives Geronimo's towel to Miss Amelia.
Just she says out of earshot, but of Geronimo, but so that Miss Esther can hear. Always so excitable, always so rambunctious.
Every single day, without fail.
At
It's his charm. It's his charm.
at this point, Josephine has pulled herself out of the water by like her arms, just like dragging herself out of the water, because she's still wearing all that really heavy, sort of Edwardian thick clothing. And now I'm on like the deck of the raft, and I've just like
flopped out.
flopped down, like my face is down. I've like taken a puff off of the clove cigarette. Never mind.
No.
And just throw it into the water.
Josie, we can save those. We clip the ends, and they're, never mind. Here's your towel, dear. Now, what are you going to do with all of these wet clothes?
Give me about 10 minutes maybe, and I think I'll be dry. I will take off this wool vest though. That wasn't very smart of me.
Miss Esther immediately takes it to try to wring it out, because wool, you jumped it. Oh dear. Nope. Okay.
If Josie's just laying out on the deck, Geronimo very carefully like folds his his cloak, and then like offers, like puts it in front of Josie, says like, this could be a pillow while you're like laying down.
I lift my head just like centimeters off the deck and just put it right back down. Thank you, Geronimo.
Okay, so how are we going to catch all of those?
So
What's
Scout
our
for sure has
strategy?
like the one fishing pole, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Love to give the 8-year-old the fishing pole.
Oh man.
What's wrong with that?
Because you know the 8-year-old's gonna hook the biggest thing.
Of course, absolutely.
I think Scout has like already cast it. Like Scout knows how to fish, and then has already gotten distracted and set the fishing pole down and is off looking at something else. And like the pole is slowly like pulling into the water. And I'm gonna do my thing I can always do and get distracted. There's like a little ladybug, and she's like poking it and following it across the deck of the raft.
I think this is a moment based off of Tiff's reaction right there, that I'm actually going to spend a token to do something, which is offer a chance for someone to connect with you on a personal level, which is I think I forgot to mention that my little walking stick also has runes on it. So I think she very casually walks over, and if Miss Esther is at all making a face of like, how am I going to get these catfish from a fritters now? Like, if you have all had the expression on your face, she just very casually just goes over to the edge of the boat and is just like like taps her walking stick on the end of it, and the fishing pole just automatically like stands up at attention and automatically starts trying to hook a catfish for us. And she says, "Would you care to sit down and chat for a moment?"
Oh, well, Geronimo, are you all right handling the net on your own?
Are almost tangled in the net.
Hmm.
I don't know how it happened, but that's definitely what it is. Like he tried to cast it, and he expected the wind to grab it, but then
There's
it
no
twisted.
wind.
And then, exactly, there's no wind, and then he twisted, and now he's like, "I've got this."
All right, I'm going to trust you with that. I'm going to trust you. If you need help,
I'll ask for help.
okay. And Miss Hester's just going to sit down for a moment and just fan herself because it is very, very warm.
Miss Esther, do you want to see something really cool?
Always.
You get a
Always.
token if you say yes.
Oh.
And I think Scout comes up to like, ladybug, and the ladybug flies off.
Oh. Oh. And
Got
there
it.
it goes. Did you remember to make a wish?
I was supposed to make a wish.
You don't know about ladybug wishes. We'll just have to keep an eye out for the next one.
I'm gonna get all the ladybugs.
Please don't capture them. You have to make sure you let them go.
Okay.
Okay. She sits next to Miss Amelia.
Yeah.
I feel like while this conversation is happening, if Josie is able to see anything, it's Geronimo trying to like dance to like untangle himself. So he's doing like a little like stomp and like a little move and like slowly getting the net off. And then like when he finds it off, he's like, all right, yeah, I got it. And then he like dunks the net in the water. And Josie notices that there is like the pull, the rope pull of the net is around Geronimo's leg.
Oh no.
Josie sees what's going on, and despite the shock and the worry that she has so recently been put through by dear sweet little Scout, Josie is going to like crawl across the deck, just kind of like dragging her wet petticoats and skirts behind her to the edge, and is going to sit up as straight as she can, and she's going to whisper so that the others can't notice, and be like, oh, I think something's tangled. Dear, let's get you untangled. We can't be letting you get stuck now, can we? And
Hold
I
on.
will.
What's going on?
You're just a little bit tangled, but don't worry, it's not your fault. It's not the net. It's just some seaweed got stuck in the net and it's tangled around your leg, and we're just going to take care of that a little bit quickly before and anything else that shocks me or surprises me or makes me worry happens.
Okay, Josie, thank you. You get a token for explaining what was going on to Geronimo.
Even though I lied
Oh, you were lying? I didn't. Well, that does make sense.
a little bit.
I mean,
Only a little bit. Like
Only a little
the
bit.
kernel of truth was there. You were in fact stuck, but
Yeah.
Josie just has to protect her students. Like she can't tell them when they're not doing something right.
It doesn't say explain truthfully. You helped
Okay.
explain.
Okay. Then I'll take the token. I'll take it.
Yeah. I think because you helped explain, like as soon as like everything is loose, that's when the net starts pulling, and Geronimo was like, "Oh, wait," and starts grabbing.
You got a lot of fish there. Do you need a hand? I'm quite heavy at the moment. I'm a little bit waterlogged. I might be able to hold on to the back of your shirt and keep you in line with the raft if you like. Be a little anchor for
Oh.
you.
Yeah, sure. Just go ahead and you're gonna grab my suspenders and we're gonna go.
All right, I grab a hold of your suspenders as tight as I can, and I presumably we both watch as like the net fills with fish.
Yeah,
All these little catfish.
I think he's like pulling to close it, and like that's when I also think that he may be playing a little prank on Josie because the suspenders actually like stretch, and so she pulls like, and everyone's like, "Oh, come on, you gotta pull harder." And it's just like, and I think if he can see Scout, like he looks at Scout and like does like a little wink.
Gives 2 big thumbs up.
I will choose to see this wink because I've just been like pulling on these elastic suspenders and just like going on for a comedically long time. I see that wink, and I look at Geronimo, I look at Scout, and I say, "Now's a physics lesson," and I let you go.
I think the net is closed, but I think Geronimo just splashes back into the water.
The catfish are pulling you too.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. And
Amelia,
he bobs up
Amelia, does
and
it look
he's
like
like
the catfish
ahead
are
of
taking a
the
Uh-huh.
raft now. He's like,
Didn't think that through. Didn't think that through. Geronimo, I'm sorry.
Josie, did you let the catfish take my waiter?
Only temporarily. I'm sure we can get Geronimo back.
Oh boy.
Wait,
Right?
can you say that one more time? You said, did you let the catfish take
Take
my
my
weight?
waiter. Yes.
Gosh, Geronimo.
Deep breaths, Geronimo. Deep breaths. As long as you're above the water. Above the water.
All right. Geronimo.
Also, I did the place move, push someone forward and give them a token there. So you get a token, Geronimo.
Geronimo, I'll make you a deal. Swim yourself back to the raft, and you get extras today.
I think like again, like, he's just sort of being pulled along. He's not really he's trying to figure out what to do. And when Miss Esther says that like huge floppy tail just starts whipping water everywhere. I was like, all right, I got this. And I think at this point too, like there's been tall grass on one side and like kind of like sprawling like flowers on the other side, like and you see like slithering out from the side is just this like this snake person who we had a name for, whose name is something.
Oh, a snake person?
Yes.
The snake person is Violet. So what did you say the snake person was doing? I'm sorry, I was preparing for something else. Yes, go ahead.
Oh, they were coming out, just getting ready to fish. And then
Okay.
they just see this I'm sorry. They see this dog just being tugged along and by this like large net like of like catfish like trying to jump out of the water, get out of
And
the
she
net.
shouts, "I've got you!" and jumps headfirst into the water and starts swimming after you. And I think she grabs onto you in like a bank and has like the back of your suspenders again, but the elastic is stretching out. But
By
I
the
think
way,
eventually
Geronimo,
you
you
hit
get
the
another
point of
token.
stretching.
Geronimo, you do get a token for accepting a deal that I wanted to make with you.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. Like Geronimo is trying like to work with Violet to try and get back to shore. And
Yeah.
like since there's like since the suspenders are like stretched to the max,
Yeah.
like instead of trying to like go like further, like he's trying to like shift to the side and like hauling on this net.
And I think eventually Violet helps you get up, and she's like, they're like, "Don't die on me," and is like, like slapping your face and like pushing.
And everyone else is just like, wait, you're gonna make me let go of the net. No, hold on.
Oh, okay, you're okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Miss Esther,
Yes.
do you think this is a moment that I should interject, or would you care to just enjoy this nice honeysuckle tea with me?
Well, he is safe, but I do need to. Oh, she just peers forward a little bit. He's alive. He'll be okay. We'll get to him in a bit. I have to admit that was actually kind of funny. So yes, I think I will sit and have some tea with you until we get there.
So yes, this is a moment of offering someone the chance to connect with you on a personal level. So just taking the time, it's just the two old ladies of the group, just ching ching, like with
I'm
tea.
too old for this.
Yeah, both of us. There's a look on our face as sweet as Amelia's face normally is. There is a look that I share only with Esther on any journey, which is we are too old for this. Just every single time. She's just, and it's not even like a full expression. It's just like her eyes coming up from like drinking the tea. She's just like,
I think Violet's eyes go wide as she helps you like get this net of catfish up on the bank, and she's like, "Are you like a catfish rider or something?"
Oh, that'd be a neat job. No, I'm a waiter.
Wait, there's no restaurants out here.
Oh, yeah, there's one right there. And everyone points down to the dewdrop.
Yeah.
Josie
A
winks.
restaurant?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go get everyone. We've never had restaurant here before.
Okay. We're gonna be floating for a while. So yeah, come on by.
Well, maybe you
We're gonna
could
have
like set up
catfish.
an anchor, and I can bring everyone here.
Miss Esther. He's like shouting across the bank. There's gonna be a lot of people that want to visit the restaurant. Can we anchor?
Yes, dear. Of course we can if there are customers.
And he almost loses the net because he's
I think Violet grabs it. And I think Violet's like, I'm gonna run back to town, like run back to Tilly's house and tell Tilly, and I'll tell Zavi, and we'll get the word out.
Tilly and Zavi are real people.
Cool.
Cool.
Well, Tilly's my best friend, and Zavi is their grandfather, and there's a bunch of other people that'll probably come. Yeah.
Neat. I should get ready to wait.
What does that mean?
I'm a waiter. I wait.
Right. I was like waiting, and I was.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I've got it.
Gotcha. And Herno reaches out a fist bump.
Yeah. She fist bumps you and then takes off running. And I think, assuming our lovely producer's on the line, that's where we're going to take our break, but we will see you all soon. And yeah, thanks. Come join us for part 2.
See you in a couple minutes.
Hello and welcome back to Tales from the Dewdrop, a Wanderhome story. When we last left, our players were getting into shenanigans, teaching Scout to swim, catching a huge school of catfish, and they had just decided to set up anchor to set up the restaurant for a promised crowd of locals who were going to come for Miss Esther's famous catfish fritters. So I think we should start with like, what does it look like for us to get the restaurant ready?
Okay. Well, the first thing we would need to do would be to obviously anchor the raft.
Mhm.
And then for safety reasons, she would have the dewdrop move on to dry land.
Yeah.
So that we can avoid any more accidents and people falling in the river.
Uh-huh.
That would probably be a grand idea. And fortunately, Breezy is able to just like pull everything up there safely, so there's no like pushing or intense labor needed on that front, at least. And then after that, Miss Esther is in work mode, so it's a flurry of pulling out stools from the back and getting things wiped down, and then going to hide in the kitchen to go work her magic.
Geronimo has an apron that he has to wear as his uniform. Um, and it was made for someone much smaller than him, I feel. And so, like, instead of being able to tie it around him, he ties the sides to like his suspenders, so it stays in the front. But he's very proud of it.
I think by the time that we've set like everything up and we're ready for everyone to join us, I think it should be just on like dusk, like
Okay.
night should maybe be setting in a little bit. You can see these kind of like celestial, perhaps constellations, perhaps stars, perhaps little trickster gods up in the sky and their
Mhm.
constellations. So you were starting to kind of see the moon and like all of these sort of like beautiful nightly things happening. And I'll actually set up the boat as like a stargazing sort of area, so people, once they've gotten food from Miss Esther, can come and join me, and I'm just on my back. I've still got whatever that was that Geronimo set up for me as like a pillow. I've still got that, and I'm just like on my back staring up at the stars, but I'll beckon people as they come around to come and join me and enjoy their beverages, enjoy their food, and just watch the stars with me.
And Amelia?
I think actually throughout all of this, Amelia has wandered off away from the group because I think she takes a moment to take in something very beautiful that usually only happens in this area, which is the dance of the flower goddess. I think she takes some time to wander off. She finds this little nook where she doesn't come out very often, but when she does, this beautiful goddess does a very entrancing sort of dance and is very upset and can sometimes cause mischief for an area if no one's there to watch and listen to what she does. So I think she takes a moment to wander off just a little bit to her little nook. She says, "Hello again, lovely. It's good to see you again."
It kind of
And
chirps at you and does a little bow.
yeah, and I think to give the table a sort of image description for this, if anyone has ever seen how hibiscus flowers look, this kind of like veiny, spread out, kind of like cracked where the actual part of like the stem and the bulb are opening up. I think the flower kind of spread, the actual body and form of the goddess also does the same thing, except to sort of play off of the celestial and the astral aspects that we were touching on before to build off of what Juniper was saying. Um, I think there's dancing constellations that change every time a different turn or a movement or a limb is twisted and turned in a different kind of way. And I think Amelia just takes a moment to take it in, enjoy it, and then she reaches her feathered hand, little claw, into her shrine, and she pulls out a small little box on one of them that's the little tiny home of Nadir, a god of a single shadow. And that single shadow is always a mirror of whatever is the happiest being nearby. And I think the goddess is extremely happy to have a friend to take in a performance. And so Nadir just hops into the ground, goes over, floats along the ground, and then becomes a shadowy duplicate of the goddess. And now the goddess has a partner to dance with.
I'm not going to cry an hour into Wanderhome.
All right, everybody start writing those bingo sheets for
It's
what our
down.
party's going to say throughout this.
I think the whole time that Miss Esther is cooking, Scout is like poking their head in and be like, Miss Esther, do you want to hang out with me?
Not at the moment. I'm very busy. But if you are looking for something to do, what can I do? If you're looking for something to do you mind coming up here and stirring this new batch of honeysuckle iced tea?
You're making that big of a batch of honeysuckle iced tea?
Those are going to be for all of the young folk, and the older folk who indulge can have some dandelion wine.
But I can have some of this iced tea too?
Yes, as long as you make sure you don't fall in and you don't add anything.
Of course not.
Of course not, Scout. Do we have a deal?
Yeah.
Are we pinky promising on that? And she leans down with a pinky.
Scout will take the pinky. Can we make the tea a little bit sweeter than normal?
How much is a little sweeter?
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Well, I'm very fond of my recipe as it is, but I'll tell you what, you can have a teaspoon of honeysuckle nectar. Don't tell anyone else I gave this to you.
This is the best day of my life.
I feel like I'm going to regret this, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
And she will give her a teaspoon of just straight honeysuckle nectar and just ploop right into her mouth.
Yeah. I think like you just see like the stages of bliss cross Scout's eyes. And like Scout like keeps the spoon in her mouth as she starts to stir with the big wooden spoon. Like there might be a little bit more flavor on it. I'm not giving it back.
Never getting that spoon back ever.
Yeah.
It's hers now.
Yeah.
No, that's good. Yep. Okay, so fritters are heated and ready to go. Got some fresh cabbage slaw to go with them. Honeysuckle iced tea, dandelion wine. Scout?
Miss Esther?
That's adorable. All right. Serious business talk. Do you think I should open up the magic side of the shop today?
Mm-hmm.
You think so? You think people want some things?
Yeah, that snake girl seemed nice.
All right. Then that's exactly what I'll do. Let's see. So then, if there are lots of families coming, that means there are probably lots of kids coming. So when you're done stirring the iced tea, would you like to be the Dewdrop ambassador and tell the other kids about all the wondrous things that we have for sale?
Oh, absolutely.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Scout.
And we think
I-
Scout finally pops the spoon out of her mouth, and puts it in with the dirty dishes.
Whew. I was actually a little concerned that you were going to bite off the bowl of that spoon.
I tried.
Um,
It was hard.
I'm not encouraging that. I'm not. But if you do a great job today, I think there might be a blueberry tart in your near future. I think, yes, I do believe I see that. All right, off with you, out of my kitchen. Shoo, shoo.
And I think Scout like kicks open the door and is like, come on, to the fabulous Dewdrop Magic Shop. They've got blue potions that give you polka dots. They've got
Lesson learned. Give clearer instructions when asking for something. I'll have to keep that in mind.
So as this is happening, I believe that night has really started to fall. It's getting darker. Dusk is kind of giving way to nighttime, perhaps. And Josie is still on her back on the deck of the ship. But now she's opened up that big sack of hers and she started to like pull out the artwork that her students have done, just these beautiful like flower shapes and spirals and just full of color and all of these beautiful shapes and things that her students created for her. And if you watch her, you see that as she looks up at the celestial trickster sort of gods in the sky, she's almost like directing them and telling them where to go to make the shapes from the artwork that her students created.
I think like being trickster gods, they're very like, they'll go to the place and then you look away and they'll move away and you'll point at them and they'll go back to where you told them. But
Make
I
very
think,
rude little drawings that they weren't supposed to do.
To
the left, just stay there. Good. Stay there. And then they just create something obscene and I just start all over again.
I'm picturing this whole scene like having a very like summer cookout vibe. Like there's like one of the families brought like some like string lights, like some like string lanterns, and have hung them up, and like people have set up like picnic blankets and have their meals, and some people are out on the barge looking at the stars, and kids are
Miss Esther will direct people toward the stargazing spot, like once they've purchased their food. It's like if you're looking for a nice place to sit, there's a lovely raft over that way yonder. Go ahead and make yourself at home.
Or if you're looking for a lovely place to sit, you can get this chair in a bottle.
Yes, that is true. I will have to say that there is no guarantee that this particular chair can carry a weight over 15 pounds, but you're welcome to try.
Esther. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I think just Geronimo like raises his hand and he's like, I've tried. Maybe for small people.
Miss Esther, you know what would be really, really awesome?
You
remember those fireworks we got a couple towns back?
Unfortunately,
that you said you were
yes.
saving for a special occasion?
Yes, I do recall. And I did say, does this constitute a special occasion?
I don't know. Does everyone think this constitutes a special occasion and we should pull out the fireworks? And I'm doing something I can always do, which is blurt out a secret to everyone.
Josie from her spot on the raft absolutely shouts out, "This calls for a special occasion!"
Scout, using crowd pressure to get someone to do what you'd like them to do. I'm so proud of you. You've learned so well. All right, fireworks it is.
I'm going to go find Amelia because she'll want to see the fireworks and I haven't seen her. She wandered off earlier.
make sure you're careful and make sure you don't go too far out.
And
Understand?
I think Scout will salute and pull out their poking stick. Be like, got it.
Mm, mm.
I think if
Bef-
you go.
So I was just to say, if Scout's gonna go wander off, Miss Esther is going to go over to a tiny little shrine she has on the top shelf, and there's her small god Zor, which looks like this little round blobby figure with a dandelion puff head that sort of pokes out, and she's going to send it to discreetly hover behind Scout, so if something happens, she'll know.
Okay.
Zor is the small god of the lost. So if Scout decides that she wants to go adventuring instead of the thing that she said she was going to do, there's at least a safety tool in place.
And I think Scout is totally oblivious to Zor following her. But Scout's going to wander off and pull out Knack and be like, and Knack looks like a little lantern. And it's going to be like, okay, help me find Amelia. She's got to be somewhere.
I think the moment you say that, Amelia has just already appeared right behind you and it's like, hello, Scout.
Ah! Oh, hi.
Hello. You weren't
Hey,
you weren't worried about me, were you?
I was. We're almost out of the catfish fritters.
Oh, don't worry. I'm coming to bring an extra little bit of celebration. But if you'd like, you can come and help me with something.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, watch this. And she just very slowly and gently, just at her own little pace, walks down just a little trail. And there is a spot just near the end of the trail where it's a crossroads, but seen from above, there's little dot patterns that if you connect them, they form their own little constellation sign when seen from above. And she says, would you like to help me and hold on to one of my little friends? Okay.
Mhm.
Be careful, don't drop it. They're very fragile, but they really like light, and they really like having a friend treat them nicely. She pulls out from one of the other spots on her shrine this tiny little nub of a candle that's alive. It is a form that her small little god Wick, the candle god, takes on. And she says, if you light the path for the butterflies, they'll come and help you out with a little task of your choice. But you have to follow the path over here, okay?
Uh-huh.
Follow me, okay? One,
Okay.
two,
1, 2,
3. And
3.
then she walks very casually, just a little bit faster. It's not fast at all, but it's fast for her pace. And she just outlines the whole pattern.
Mhm.
And it turns out it's a little constellation of a butterfly. And once you do the full pattern, it's seen as a bit of an offering to the shrine. Once the shrine receives the offering, a full-blown little, it looks at first like one massive butterfly with these two prismatic wings suddenly pops up and starts flying up. But in actuality, it's sort of mirroring the way that the catfish from earlier were a whole school of small ones making a big thing. It's just a burst of butterflies that she then decides, because I have the ability to spend a token to provide a solution for an aspect of a material or immediate problem. And in her head, if there's not enough entertainment for Miss Esther's little boat, people won't get to enjoy themselves as much. So she's bringing the entertainment to the people on the boat.
Okay.
So she's helping use the cane and basically trying to encourage Scout to run alongside her
Yeah.
while she trails the cane along the sky and just helps lead all of the butterflies
Yeah.
over to where Miss Esther's shop is.
Uh-huh. I think like Scout has like butterflies like perched on her and is like trying to hold very still while holding Wick in one hand and Knack in another. Um,
So
Um,
sorry.
Oh no, sorry. Just I think Herman is trying his best to like make friends while he's serving up the fritters. And just sort of like just trying to be very careful not to drop things because Miss sister knows that Geronimo's a little clumsy. But like he's got like a platter that has plates on it, and he's like walking forward and taking his time and like putting stuff down and being like, "Hi, I'm Geronimo. Hi, I'm Geronimo. Hi, it's nice to meet you." And then just very excitedly like getting to know people, and like when he sees Violet, he's like, "Thank you so much for helping me."
yeah, this is Tilly. And Tilly's like, hey! And it's like, do you need some help? I can help.
Oh no, I'm a
I'm like
waiter.
really good at carrying things.
Hmm. It might be faster. Okay.
Okay. Until he's like a little otter with like a like permanent cowlick.
I
And
love that.
picks up.
Hido's just like, all right. So this is how you do it. This is how you wait. Okay. So waiting is important because if you don't wait right, then people get mad and then they don't pay for your food. But so what you're gonna do is you're gonna back straight. Right? Take a deep breath. Confidence.
All
right, and now you just carry the stuff to the tables.
Okay, I can do that.
Yeah. and
I think you see an older otter who has like an little otter beard like chuckling at the table as like Billy like wanders off. He's like, about time Tilly did a good day's work.
It's all in the confidence and not tripping over your feet.
Good for that kid. If y'all are hiring waiters, you can have him for the summer.
Well, I had to talk to Miss Esther. Yeah, I think though I think when the butterflies start showing up, like Geronimo gets super distracted.
Yeah.
So as speaking of confidence, as this is happening and the butterflies start to show up and Geronimo and Scout are doing their little lesson on waiting, anyone who's kind of like attuned their ear a little bit and just kind of listening closely will hear from the raft that Professor Josie is kind of muttering under her breath, no. And you even see that some of the people who are on the raft with her have kind of drifted away and aren't really there on their backs anymore watching the sky. And you see that she's kind of like panicking and she's going through all of her different papers and her eyes are wide and no. Oh, come back. It's just you need to go to the left and you need to go to the right and we can make this work. We can make this work if you just come back. And you just kind of realize that she's panicking a little bit, trying to get all of these little celestial trickster gods to listen to her and to recreate the artwork from her satchel.
I think Amelia's made sure scouts come back to help with all of the work, but goes over to Josie. Is Josephine still on the floor, still lying up looking at the sky?
She's sitting upright at this point, but she's still on the raft, and you just see like all of these pictures strewn around the raft, and she's just kind of like desperately looking at all of them, and you see the lights in the sky twinkling sort of out one by one. There are a few stars left in the sky, but they've mostly abandoned her at this point.
Dear, you are going to have to get up at some point.
I really wanted to make something beautiful for Miss Esther and for the celebration at the magic cart. I don't know why they're not paying attention to me tonight and why they're being so bad. Is it something that I'm doing wrong?
Dear, sometimes the gods are also children. You can't force them to do the kind of things they don't want to do. Sometimes you have to just let them get the energy out. It's not on you, okay? Here, watch. She taps her stick again on the ground, and then she turns it upside down. She points. Dears, please try and be nice to my friend. She does not always know how to talk with all of you. And it's not nice to tease someone who doesn't know. Someone who doesn't know shouldn't be judged just because they don't know. And
I'm a
I
teacher.
think
Okay, you go ahead.
I think she like is it's a very gentle, but it's a very firm kind of voice, because nice doesn't always mean like pushover, and gentle doesn't always mean pushover. Sometimes it just means I don't need to raise my voice to get my point across. And she just like directs them, and she's always had this constant rhythmic tapping, but she kind of almost turns the tapping with raising both her wings and the one with the cane into almost like a conductor's baton sort of thing, and just conducts them, makes it more entertaining for them, but it still does the same thing that you wanted. It basically turned it into a game or made it something entertaining for them rather than treating it like a full-on task. And I spend a token in order to ease someone's pain, if only for a moment. So
Right.
she just tries to make it a little bit easier on you. And she also, like, she offers a wing to lift you up if you would like it.
Mm.
And she also says, now, dear, I know you're missing your dears, your little ones. I know it's been a while since you've gotten to interact with any of them. But if it makes you feel any better, I can offer you something that might remind you of what a lot of other little ones have seen throughout all of these places we're going to visit.
Josie looks at you, looks up to the twinkling stars, which have started to arrange themselves again in lovely spirals and patterns. And I look at you and I say, maybe they were right to send me on sabbatical if I have that much still to learn about being a teacher. What can I learn from you?
That you can take a break and it won't break you. And it won't ruin what you're trying to do, dear.
And I will take a token for that because you've reflected on what's going on around us.
And she passes over a book to you. It looks like a very well-worn sort of notebook, probably a journal of someone's at one point, and you can tell that a lot of the writing in it is very fancy. It's so like elaborate. It's so super long-winded, and it's very fanciful in the wrong kind of ways that a poet can be at times. But near the end of it, you also see that the poet, it goes back far enough into when the poet was a child, in which they were also paying attention to signs they would see up in the sky and a lot of little gods nearby. And she says, I think you could use this to write your own thoughts and let out your own feelings more than I could right now.
This book seems like it was very precious to you, Amelia.
Oh, it was.
Why give it to me?
I like to think that when one kind of love ends, another one begins. And so, though I no longer love the person for who was the owner of that notebook, I do care and love you very dearly. So why not pass along and begin a new step of love with someone new who might get more joy out of it than I would?
All right, a new step of love, a new lesson. I think I can do that. I can definitely do that. And so Josie clears her throat very loudly, very prolonged period of time, the way that she learned to do in the academy to draw people's attention to her when her students are starting to fall asleep in class. Clears her throat for about 30 seconds. And you see all of the otter and snake folk around who were starting to drift away as she panicked. And you see that they're kind of attuned to her again. And she starts to beckon them and says, I've got a new lesson. I've got a new lesson. Everybody join me. Everybody join me. And we'll look at the stars together. And this time we will forget all of the rules that we have to hold to. And you tell the stars what shape you want. And we'll see if they make them. Everybody, join with me. And Josie will sit down on the deck again, surrounded by all of these people who have rejoined her. And Amelia, as you see them gather with her, she gives you the thumbs up with my paws, which can definitely do a thumbs up.
Absolutely.
I think the first person to speak up is Violet, the river snake we saw earlier. She's like, I've got this. I want a catfish.
Josie looks at the sky, and instead of like hands on her hips and like glowering somewhat angrily, she looks up at the sky and says, "You heard Violet. Can we see perhaps a catfish, but make it very, very fancy?"
And I think the stars kind of split into like two groups almost that are like competing with each other to make the fanciest catfish. And like whatever one like adds a little embellishment, the other one adds like more embellishments to their catfish. And like the catfish start kind of swirling with each other in the sky.
Everyone, vote. Raise your hand if you like catfish number 1. And Josie throws up her hand and waves it. And then, half the boat does that. And then she says, all right, fancy catfish number 2. Wave your hand in the air if you like fancy catfish number 2. And Josie also puts her hand up in the air for fancy catfish number 2.
I think there are some younger folk on the back who are just like, instead of raising their hand, they're just shouting out numbers that they like. Number 3 is the best. Nah, it's number 1. You can't see. Shut up. All I can do.
I think you see the stars in the sky just like what? Like they're starting to like just scramble because they don't know what to do. And they're making all these other like catfish and just trying really hard to keep up with what Miss Esther's patrons are requiring.
You know the cartoon like dizzy eye effect when someone like gets spun around and they're just like, oh, whoa, the stars I think are starting to do that after a while.
I think around that point, Miss Esther will call out from the dewdrop. Ladies and gentlemen, you have exactly 10 minutes to make any final magical purchases before the fireworks display begins. Quickly, 10 minutes for final magical purchases until the fireworks display begins. The kitchen is now closed. Drinks will continue to be served. Please see Geronimo with your orders. Thank you.
Professor Junie.
I do that thing that great teachers do where when they're talking to someone very, very small, they like get down on their knees to be on the same level. So I do that to get eye level with Scout.
I made friends with butterflies and with Amelia's friend Wick. And today I thought was going to be like a really boring day, but now I have polka dots and I learned how to swim. And Geronimo captured a whole bunch of catfish, and I learned to make tea. And I got to eat a whole spoon of honeysuckle nectar.
What now?
And now there's going to be fireworks. A whole spoon.
Well, there's
full.
that secret blurted.
Oh, good. Good. So we're gonna be up all night, lessons all night. Wonderful.
Yeah, we can watch the stars. You think we can get the stars to perform along with the fireworks?
We might, but you'll have to ask them very, very nicely.
I can do that. Hey, stars.
Yo, what's up?
Stars. Could you please please perform for us, please, with the fireworks? I think it would be really cool if you did that. And everyone would like it a lot. And I'd like it a lot. And please.
I feel like at that moment, the stars turn off. It gets very dark for a moment before they flash up like fireworks, as if saying, like, yeah, we can do that.
And I think Scout just kind of like falls backwards where they're standing to like lay in the grass.
Josie will grab a hold of the front of your shirt to make sure you don't actually like.
Yeah.
I think people do hear a little commotion when that happens, though. Anyone definitely like spilled a couple drinks, like, oh god. Because he wasn't ready for like the big flash of like the lights all at once. She's like, oh, beans.
Geronimo, your language.
It's just beans. They do make you toot. Sorry.
You said toot.
The sky. Pay attention to the sky. The stars are gonna dance. The stars are gonna dance.
Josie, one day you will admit the poop jokes are funny. And Geronimo's carrying this like this tray back towards the kitchen.
It was a little funny.
Oh, he tries not to make a big deal about it, like he doesn't turn back around, but that tail goes very happy.
Scout, if you allow it, Josephine, who is still kind of like at your level, Josie pats her shoulders and says, "Do you want to get a closer look at the stars, sweetheart?"
And we'll start climbing up, trying to climb on her own until you help her up.
Yeah.
I can see a lot.
You definitely pull on my fur a little bit.
And I think she like takes your big floppy hat and puts it on her head. It's like, I can see a lot better from up here.
Yeah, I thought that you might.
Miss Esther has gotten the fireworks set up away from the dewdrop and away from any dry grass. The last thing she wants is a fire.
They're magical fireworks. It's fine.
Well, she does. She gets them set up, and she's there with one of her green smoked cigarillos, and it's just waiting for the opportune moment before she takes a very serene little drag and uses the end to light the fireworks and set them off in the sky.
Yeah.
I imagine that they are, instead of fireworks that just do like one color or another, or maybe like two at the most, I imagine that these are almost kind of opalescent. So they just sort of, when they burst, they just sort of shimmer in all these different colors.
And I think the stars kind of react and ripple as like each one bursts, like water rippling. Like every now and then they'll make a little catfish that swirls around them. And I think the butterflies too are kind of swirling in the sky around us. And it's just like this beautiful summer evening. And I think that that's where we should leave our first episode of Tales from the Dewdrop, a Wanderhome story. Let's go around and hear from our players and hear what if they have anything going on that they'd like to promote. Tiff, do you have anything you want to plug? Anything you want to promote? Anything going on? Where can people find you?
Well, people can find me at Ruby Quill on Twitter. I am promoting Wanderhome. That's the biggest project I'm doing at the moment. But I love it. And I hope that you come back next session for more shenanigans.
Victor, do you have anything going on? Where can people find you?
Yes, I have a lot going on, but you can find me mainly on my Twitter. Right now, I have a Once More Into the Void game going on starting next week, every week until the first week in September. It is fantastic. It is emotional. The VOD is up for the first session, but on Friends Who Roll Dice, and it is. We're even getting like really cool crowd incentives to mess with our game, because we have a couple special rules going on for Once More Into the Void, and it is dramatic. But otherwise, my main project that I'm a part of is Splat 3 Touched. It is a zine with a bunch of essays about intimacy in TTRPGs. And as a romantic demisexual person, intimacy is kind of weird for me. And I wrote a whole essay about it. And using honesty and vulnerability to help make intimacy in your games very powerful. That Splat is now available on itch.io if you didn't get it the first time around when it was crowdfunding. And please buy it, because I get cuts when it goes, but also like it has a lot of very powerful essays that I really enjoy. I'm also the centerfold.
VJ, where can people find you? What do you got going on?
Hi, I'm VJ Stonecraft. You can find me on Twitter at VJ_Stonecraft. I'm the director of Love Winscraft. It's a queer-led Call of Cthulhu podcast. We've got a few different projects in the works. Our current one is an 1890s campaign exploring queer identity and horror. And you can find me in a few other places as well. I'm on Carrie Smith 2012's The Glass Chronicles as Arabella Earhart and Aviatrix, and a few other places that are coming up as well. So come follow me. I'd love to hear more about you. Join me in the dark.
Angela, where can people find you? What do you got going on?
Hello there, lovelies. Thank you for tuning in to our very cozy, sweet pastoral shenanigans, of which there will be many more to come. Currently, you can find a lot of my published materials over on Voice of the Phoenix and itch.io, including the first ever game that I wrote about memories, grief, and learning to move on, called Flame in the Abyss. In terms of my current ongoing actual play work, you can see me over on Girls Run These Worlds, typically on Wednesdays for a Lancer Love in the Time of Mech series, and also on Thursdays for a Deviant the Renegades series happening over there, in both of which I play very emotional, very intense characters with a lot more of a focused energy that is a lot heavier to deal with given the themes that we're working with in those games. Currently, we're in a dark week for the channel with all of the Gen Con stuff happening, but starting next week, we'll be going right back into it. But otherwise, you can typically find most of my work over on either my Patreon at Philosophem or the itch.io that I mentioned previously. It's honestly a lot of where my work is right now, outside of any other game stuff that I'm working on in the back burner, along with handling life. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
All right. And I've been your facilitator and scout player, Natalie Putum. I'm a professional game master with Charm Person Games. You can book with us for your parties, corporate events, bat mitzvahs, funerals. We'll play any game for you anytime, any place. You can also go get my game, Sapphic Space Pirates. You can book with us or find the link to that game at charmpersongames.com. It's a fantastic game, and I really recommend picking it up. And here on TTRPG, tomorrow is Dead or Alive, the tropical zombie thriller, and Friday will be a airing of Los Casados, the a fantastic telenovela game. So tune in and see those. And we will see you next week for episode 2 of Tales from the Dewdrop, a Wanderhome story. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching.